Welcome everybody to the September webinar. I almost forgot the month again. See, we always do these at the end of the month, so I'm confused. I think I'm already thinking October. So how's everybody doing? Let me know in the comments. Let us know. We're going to take questions afterwards, but throughout the presentation, this is important, guys and gals. And if you're called in, you can't do anything. But if you're logged in, you can actually type a question, and anytime you want, you can make it private, you can make it public. We'll see, and then we'll give you an answer if there is one, or we'll let you know that there's not if there isn't.
We'll make up one.
We'll leave that to you. We leave that to the other guys, Chris. We don't do those kind of things here.
No making things up. Huh?
We do not do that. So this is a popular topic. I would have never thought to do this. But apparently there's a huge trend and interest from the clinical research community this year, and probably it has to do with the fact that this is a record year for research. So there's tons of studies, and then that trickles down into tons of opportunities for everybody, for companies, for consultants, for contractors. So we wanted to talk to you guys about how to do that, because I got like 5 questions in 1 week last month about this. And I heard someone's doing this and like charging people for the webinar. Like they have this topic as a webinar. It's like a class and they're charging. I don't know anything about it, if it's good or not good, but you don't need that. I mean, you can just learn it on your own here. We're going to give you tons of homework to do.
We are?
Yeah, there's a lot of homework involved with this. We did a podcast on this.
Okay.
So that's for you guys on the webinar. You're going to have homework. Slides will be available. Actually, not the slides, but the replay will be available to everybody who registered. So you will have the slides from there. The replay will be sent to everybody who registered. It will also go on YouTube later, and it will also go on the podcast. So thank you everybody for attending. This is it's a good topic. It's juicy topic, Chris. We can get a lot of good advice for people, because both of us have actually done this. I've never been an employee, but we've both worked as contractors, consultants. Continue to do so in addition to everything else we do. So we're going to give some advice, and then we're going to share some best practices of what other people have done successfully and unsuccessfully, maybe in some cases.
Sounds like a interesting topic.
Very interesting. So you excited about this one, Chris?
Very much so.
Okay, so let's get into the next slide. So can you guys see it okay? Can you see it? Let me know. Okay. Here we go. So becoming an entrepreneur. All right, and I don't know how to do this without messing up the chat. Okay, maybe do it like this. Okay, here we go. Becoming an entrepreneur. So many employees would like to become their own boss and be independent. Have you noticed this in research?
Many?
Speak clearly into the mic. Speak clearly.
Well, a lot of people do prefer to be an employee, right? Not everybody's business-minded or entrepreneurial. But yeah, quite a few people are. Sometimes it's easier than you think it might be, and other times it might be a little more difficult than you think it might be.
So there's a lot of benefits. There's also a lot of cons. There's pros and cons. You were just explaining to me earlier about independent contractors, and there's some IRS consequences once you do that. Can you explain just like a brief explanation?
It's the self-employment tax is kind of the nickname it has. As an employee, there's a Social Security tax that must be paid, and as an employee, your employer pays half of it. If you're self-employed or contractual worker, you're responsible for both sides. So you have to pay yours and essentially your employers, because there is no employer. You're your own employer. So you're responsible for double the Social Security tax. And it can be quite a bit. I know you complain about this every year.
Yeah,
Mr.
I'm in the
Dan.
process of finalizing taxes now. So we'll see. We'll see the damage this year.
Oh yeah.
Okay, but that is something you guys, if you've never been in the role of being an independent contractor or being your own business, that's going to come as a shock to a lot of you guys because
Yep.
as an employee, W-2, your taxes are being taken care of. The government does not trust you to save up. If
Yep.
you're an employee, the government does not trust that you know how to budget your money. It's actually quite insulting if you think about it.
Yeah. You're a child.
The government does not think you are trustworthy enough to budget for taxes, so they take it automatically out of your paycheck.
Yep.
Right?
Each paycheck.
That is not the case. Are we okay? You want to answer it?
It's just my ringtone.
Okay.
Continue.
So the government is that's one of the things that is going to be maybe a shocker for a lot of you guys. So just wanted to warn you about that beforehand. Consult with a tax expert. All right. Maybe it doesn't make sense for you. Of course, you get paid more as a contractor, but it's all about what you keep at the end of the day. It's not about what you earn. Like the top line is one thing, but the bottom line is what matters. So consult with a good CPA if you're thinking of doing this. Maybe consider setting up an LLC. I would highly recommend it. Getting some insurance, errors and omissions insurance. Okay, we're gonna get. I think some of the future slides will cover that. So there is no clear path coming independent because everyone starts off at different levels. And Carlos did a very good job at these slides.
Did you review them?
This time I did. Yeah.
Yeah?
Again,
Alright.
2 times in a row.
That's surprising.
Yeah, getting very professional up in here. Some people are interested in becoming independent CRAs, consultants, PIs, or site owners. We actually talked to a PI today, or not today, last week, about she works for a site and she's thinking of why not just do it herself.
Sure.
Can you recall some of that conversation?
I don't remember the specifics, but I do remember that context.
Okay, so it's not just coordinators that want to be independent CRAs or consultants, or it's also PIs that want to be, okay, I want to own my own site. Maybe it's even site owners looking to make extra cash to pay their taxes.
And you certainly can do that.
Right? So and those people are already entrepreneurs, but it's really for everyone else. So let's get to the next slide and see what's here. Let us know if there's any questions. As always, we'll read them and we will discuss. So be a generalist. All right, we've done an entire webinar on this topic alone. Most people enter research and make every effort to specialize in their area of research. However, market demands for a specialist are risky because markets tend to shift. So right now, we're in a very good economy for clinical research. We're actually in a good economy for everything with the artificially low interest rates, which means that companies feel better about investing into new studies, and then new vendors get brought on. So we're in a boom right now. Okay. Yep. What happens when we go into a bust? Well, guess who's the first one to get cut is the contractor.
Yeah.
They're not going to cut the employees because then you have to pay the unemployment tax, right? Yes, as a business. So the first one that goes are the contractors, right? Mm-hmm. They owe you nothing. They're just hiring you for a contract role. Yep. You're not an official employee. So be careful. Yes, there's booms. There's also busts. That's how this tends to work. Busts follow booms, and then booms follow busts. So if you're ready for this roller coaster of a ride, and that's not to say that as an employee you won't be susceptible to these ups and downs also, because you are, and employees get cut all the time too.
Sure.
So you got to know yourself, weigh the pros and cons, and then if you're on this webinar, or you're watching this, or you're listening, chances are you've already thought of this. If you haven't, please do, especially the part about the CPA and the taxes. Get that under control, and then get the LLC set up for yourself. All right. So those interested in starting their own business are strongly encouraged to learn different skills relating to their area of specialty and continue to do that until they become knowledgeable in a large range of topics. So this is where most people get caught up, because chances are when you are an employee, you are a specialist, not a generalist. So let's take, for example, and this is a generalist position as it is, but there's much more hyper specialized positions than this. But let's take study coordinator as an example, okay? And that's one of the most generalist positions there are. But even that, I'm going to show you how it's still a specialist, all right? Study coordinator that wants to become a consultant and help research naive PIs like we do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Start their own clinics or help small startup clinics do better in their operations, business, everything, right? Well, now this coordinator doesn't want another job, right? They don't want to they don't want to leave their current role and go get hired by somebody else to do the exact same thing. They want to become a consultant and help them with everything. All right. Otherwise, why leave? Like, why leave your stable place to go work at a startup?
Sure.
Unless you're getting paid a lot more, you're getting equity in the business, but that's a different topic. Then it's not this. This is not the webinar.
Okay.
Okay. So you got to take what you've learned as a coordinator, and hopefully, this is why it starts now. The transition starts now when you're currently working, wherever you're working. Start doing more things. You're not going to get paid more, but start learning the entire process, not just what you're doing, but everything.
So if you're specializing in collecting the data and data entry,
yes,
move out towards start doing some regulatory.
Start doing regulatory. Get involved in the startup regulatory. Get involved if you can in the contracts and budgets. Get involved if you can in getting studies for the site and doing feasibilities. Do as much as you can. Not every workplace will allow you to do all this extra stuff, but some will.
Yeah.
And most won't complain if you do an extra thing or two.
Sure.
Some will complain if you do everything. Maybe they don't even know what they need. So there's no way another site would want to hire you to be a consultant if you're a study coordinator unless you can provide everything they need. They don't want to hire like a bunch of people. They want to hire you as a consultant. And if you're not a generalist, if you're a specialist, then they're going to want to hire you to be a coordinator, and now you're back in the same position you were before you left, maybe in a riskier spot.
So basically you're saying learn the entire process.
Everything.
So
become a generalist.
So you can guide somebody who's research naive through everything.
Or not even research naive, just somebody that, like a PI that does studies, maybe they lost a site director, and instead of hiring an employee, they want a contractor or a consultant.
Sure.
And then you can scale this. You can do it now for 5 sites, not just one.
We have clients that do this.
We do have clients that do this. We have one client that we're supposed to talk to later today that's doing this for like 30.
Yep.
30 sites. So be a generalist, okay? Learning new skills require that you first identify what your strengths and weaknesses are, right? You have to be honest with yourself and know. And you don't know what you don't know. That's a law of nature. You don't know what you don't know. Shocking. I know it's shocking.
Seems to make sense.
Will the slides be available? Yes. Yes. Okay, so any more questions, let us know. Come on, type them in. Let's make this interactive, okay? There are several ways to work on your weaknesses. Okay? There are many. So networking, okay? LinkedIn, research-related conferences such as DIA, right? There's conferences everywhere for everything. If you wanted a full-time job of going to conferences, you could. Now, you may not be allowed to get that much time off to go to conferences all day, but be strategic. Pick some good ones to go to, and you got to figure out what that is that you want to do. If you're a CRA,
how do you pick out which ones are the good ones?
This is where we're going to get into.
Oh, okay.
This is where you can't just like pick in a hat. Like
you can't
put all the conferences in a hat and then put your hand in there and pick out a conference. I mean, I guess you can do that. Some people are not doing anything, so that would work.
Better than nothing, huh?
If you're a CRA working for a CRO, and this is what inspired this webinar in the first place. I've had like 4 senior level, I'm talking like 10 years plus, senior CRAs at big CROs wanting to go independent, wanting to do other things besides monitoring. So they're willing to go independent CRA route to start out as a nice transition into full-on consulting, like more generalist level,
Sure.
higher level consulting, not just monitoring, but let's develop a monitoring plan. How do we put risk-based monitoring here? How do we select vendors? So to go from a CRA, even a senior level CRA, to that requires you to learn.
Sure.
Requires you to attend some conferences. And the good thing about some of these big CROs, because some of these sites, if you work at a site, you could probably convince your employer to let you go to like ACRP or SOCRA. Like those are site friendly, or maybe Society for Clinical Research Sites. Those are site friendly conferences. So there's a value in having one of your employees go. You're not going to probably go to DIA or Bio if you work at a site. There's no value really for the site. All right, but for a CRA, you have more options. And for a CRA, your CRO probably will pay for you to go. And not only that, the site will pay for you to go, but the CRO will pay for you to go as well. Not only that, there's another layer to this onion that we're peeling back. Okay. A lot of these CROs, if you go, like we went to DIA, right?
Right.
We just went. This is why I'm talking about it now. All the big CROs were there.
I don't know about all of them, but yeah.
The top 5 were there.
Sure.
Right? In their booths, which are mega booths, they're not like our booth that we had.
Right, they're taking up 10 spots.
They're mega booths with like basketball courts, and like they're doing they're wasting so much money to get their branding out there. If you work for one of these companies and you are a senior level CRA, you can talk to some people. You probably have some clout at this company and convince them to let you go with them, man the booth. But even one level higher than this, these big CROs pay to have members of their CRO teach panels or make presentations, right? Sure. We've known so many people that do this. Why can't you be that person, right? So now you're positioning yourself to become an expert to other people outside of your organization, because now you're a panelist, right? Now you're presenting, even if it's a small like breakout session, right? You can join these groups. Now you can be perceived by your colleagues in the community outside of your CRO as an expert. And then now, while you're at this conference, you can also attend other panel sessions and get educated about what your weaknesses are, take notes, then go home and study those things. At DIA, we could have spent the whole 4 days going to different lessons every half an hour.
I don't know how valuable those would have been. I may have a disagreement here.
If you're a CRA and you don't know anything about regulatory affairs, meaning what's the pathway, what's the regulatory roadmap for a 510K, what's the regulatory roadmap for an IND, you don't know anything about that because your whole 10 years plus you've just been monitoring. You don't deal with regulatory affairs. So you attend a few sessions on that, take down notes, network with those speakers, go on LinkedIn, connect with them, ask them detailed questions on LinkedIn, provide comments when they post things on LinkedIn, and then Google, just research, become an expert. Now you're going to learn. And this is how you become a generalist. Okay? So LinkedIn, conferences, ask your employer. If you work in a large CRO, this is what we just talked about. If you are a CRA and you've never had experience working at a site and you want to start doing that, maybe you tell one of your sites or a site in your area, hey, I'm a CRA. I want to open my own site. Okay, can I do QA at your site for free just to learn the process? Now, a site, if you're going to be a direct competitor of that site, they're not going to allow you to do that. But if you're not a direct competitor, let's say they're doing just psychiatry and you want to do oncology site, who wouldn't take that? You can train. This is a free person that can come in here and train my staff. All they want to do is learn the process of what it takes to start a site. You can do these kind of things. If you're worried about competitors, go into the next city near you. Right? So what do you disagree with, Chris? You're looking skeptical here.
Well, it's not that I disagree. I just think as a CRA, I think I'm a little bit more on the safe side, right?
Yes, that's why you're 0-3 in fantasy football, by the way.
I don't think it has anything to do with that, but anyhow.
I just had to get that in there.
anyhow, if I were a CRA, I think my first venture into having my own business would be a contract CRA. Even if I'm trying to get out of being a CRA, just because that's safe, right? You're working within the realm you already know,
Yes.
and you're working for yourself.
Yes.
I think that would be my first venture. It wouldn't be into I'm gonna go start a consulting business of some sort.
Right. No, and that's what I said. They're going to transition to being a contract CRA.
Right.
But
First.
yes, but after that,
Okay.
this is
I didn't finish
further.
that part.
Yeah, contract
It's
CRA
probably-
first. Of course, that's the conservative route.
Okay.
And you can get paid more, but be careful. Mind the taxes.
Yeah.
Get a good CPA. Don't get H&R Block, and please don't get TurboTax and do it yourself. Get a good CPA. Invest in yourself. If you're going to be a
It's not
business
that
person,
costly.
if you're going to be a business person, act like a business person. Don't act like an employee.
Mhm.
Employees can go to H&R Block.
Yeah.
All you do is have a W-2. That's it. What else are you going to have?
Yep. Sure.
Right? Okay. So these are the work. This is how to work on your weaknesses and become more of a generalist. Special events. So just like DA we talked about. Okay. Networking. Your employer will probably pay, even if you work at a site. If Carlos came to us right now and said, "Hey, he's going to be listening, so we have to. This has to be truthful." If Carlos came to me right now and said, "Hey, I think I can be an asset if I go to Magi in October,"
Mhm.
guess what? And I'm going to represent Breakthrough Clinical Trials. I don't want to go to Magi.
Sure.
You don't want to go to Magi.
Well,
he's going, right?
You have to demonstrate the value to
your employer.
Right.
But guess what? I know the value. He would be going.
Right.
So if you are even at a small site, you can do this. You just got to demonstrate the value. What's the ROI of me going to Magi? Well, I might get some studies for you. We're gonna build some inroads. I'm gonna get training on how to do better on the operations. It's only 3 days.
Sure.
You're not missing out like an entire week. All right. Let's get to the chat room. Any conference suggestions for a site owner? Oh, excuse me. So there's a couple site-friendly conferences. Scope, SCOPE, is a good one for sites. I hear good things about Society for Clinical Research Sites, for Magi. We're going to have our own conference soon. I think that's going to be the best and blow everyone out of the water. Our first meetup was fantastic. We'll keep doing those. There are conferences for sites, right? A lot of them are for site owners.
Also, if you're looking
SCRS, Magi, Scope. Those are the big ones.
And if you're looking for, if your purpose or rationale for going is to get more studies for your site, there's conferences specific to therapeutic areas.
Thank you, Chris.
Those are the ones you want to go to.
Yes, like there used to be one called NC-DO for psych. They changed the name to something else. That was good for psych. For oncology, there's ASCO. So also therapeutic indications if you're going for a site. Okay.
And they have GI ones. They have all kinds.
Everything. There's a conference. You can literally go every week to a different conference the entire year if you wanted to. All right. Getting to these events can seem challenging to people with busy work schedules. See, this is where people give up because they're like, "What? I'm going to do all this extra work. I'm not getting paid anything else."
Sure.
Well, you said by being on this webinar,
yeah, you want to venture out,
that you want to do things on your own. And guess what? When you work for yourself, you're going to be doing a whole lot of things on your own without getting paid. How many calls do we take a day where there's no light at the end of the tunnel of getting a payment?
How about preparing presentations that have nothing in return? Like, have you heard from somebody in particular today?
Yes.
Or you did hear from him?
I got an email.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how did it go?
Can you make some edits? All right.
Oh, I thought his presentation was today.
Yeah, it's today. The point is, let's not get sidetracked, but we do it every day.
It's in this vein.
We do it every day. Yeah. We do activities.
Work with no reward.
Not every activity that you're going to do when you work for yourself generates revenue. I wish it did. It's not the way it works.
Nope.
A lot of it is just for building skill set. A lot of it is for learning other skills.
Well, it's not just that, but it's a lot of times the purpose of doing the work is that hopefully it turns into some sort of revenue stream, but oftentimes it doesn't.
Oftentimes it doesn't, and guess what? You don't have time to complain. You don't have time to cry. You have to move on to the next one.
That's right.
You're not an employee anymore. You're not being given what to do. You have to go create it.
Yeah.
Create the opportunities. So don't be afraid to network, okay, at these events. If your employer refuses to let you go to any conference, then I would be looking for ways to work for somebody else.
Or just go to conferences local to you.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. So ACRP and SOCRA. By the way, you should ask your employer to pay for you to get certified for ACRP.
Sure.
If you're a coordinator. For SOCRA if you're a CRA. And also, both of those organizations have monthly meetups that are free.
Yep.
You don't even have to be a member. So if your employer says no, you can still go to the free meetings every month.
Yeah. I didn't know that. I thought you had to be a member.
Well, the purpose of those meetings is to get people to become
Sure.
members. But you can go network for free. Your employer says no, you can still do it. But again, you're going on your own time.
Right.
And this is where people say, well, why? That's not fair, Chris. I have to go on my own time for this. I don't even know if I want to become a contractor. Why would I go on my own time? I could play Nintendo instead.
Yeah, then you can learn if you want to do this, right?
Right. So stop complaining. I mean, that's probably the rule number one. So there's this thing on the bottom of the slide that is moving. It's very interesting. Okay. Almost done, guys and gals. Thank you for being patient. Thank you for keep the questions coming. We're coming to an end here, so I need questions. I need details. Liability. We talked about this in the beginning, but we talk about it again now. As an entrepreneur, you are not only just responsible for your taxes, which we discussed, but any incident involving your business. So you make a mistake. You're a contractor. You make a mistake. Let's say you're a contract CRA. You go monitor. The CRO is hiring you.
Yeah,
You go monitor. Everything's fine. Then an auditor comes through and says, who is your CRA? They don't know what the heck they're doing.
Yeah.
We're not approving this study. And it's primarily because the CRA had no clue what they were doing at the site.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? That sponsor, that CRO, might feel bad about what just happened to them and come sue you for their loss of business that they got. And so you've got to have limited liability, an LLC, and make sure you are not piercing the corporate veil. Everybody write this down. If you're driving, don't. Just try to remember it.
I would have E&O on to that as well.
E&O's good. Patience, it's coming.
Oh, it's there.
It's next. It's next. We did not forget this. But before E&O, do not pierce the corporate veil, people.
Yes, Dan has a bad habit of doing this.
Yes. Do not do what I do.
Yeah.
Okay? Treat your company like a separate person from you. So, LLC.
What do you mean by pierce the corporate veil? Give an example.
You cannot embezzle. You cannot commingle funds.
Right. You can't pay a personal bill with business funds.
Right. And when you do, try to make sure there's some justification in case IRS ever comes through.
Right.
Or more importantly than the IRS is lawsuits.
You get sued. Yeah.
If you get sued, let's say you're a contract CRA and you working under your LLC, okay? So, the Best CRA LLC. That's your company name. Not you personally, Chris Auber.
Right.
Okay? You're getting paid through the LLC. You, Chris Auber, are the CRA, but you're working for your own LLC.
Right.
Okay. So now something happens. The sponsor says this person was a complete moron. We want to sue them because they don't know what they did, which is a risk.
Right.
Okay. And by the way, they don't sue their own employees unless there's fraud. So when you're a contractor, there's a lot more liability chance. Right? They sue you. Now they hire an attorney who specializes in suing people, suing businesses, and they look because a lot of people, when they start their LLC, they protect their personal assets from liability. So like your home is owned in your own name, or like a savings account in your own name.
Right.
If you don't pierce the corporate veil, they can't come after your personal assets.
Right.
All they can come after is your LLC. Now, if there's proof, and these lawyers are clever.
And this happens a lot.
It happens all the time. There's lawyers that just specialize in finding holes in the corporate veil.
And most people probably in some way do pierce the corporate veil.
Most people do. It's human nature.
Yep.
So they're gonna find Okay, this person is not acting as an LLC, they're acting as themselves. Therefore, judge, we should sue them.
An example, I believe
Personally.
I believe this would be an example. So you're this contract CRA, you use your personal credit card to buy an airplane ticket, and then you reimburse yourself through the corporate account, right? That would be piercing the corporate veil.
Yes.
You need to use your
separate accounts.
your company account to buy that.
Separate accounts. When you buy gas, it needs to be for when you're going on a trip versus when you're going somewhere for yourself.
Right.
And just be very careful with these things. It's very easy to not be careful. I'm definitely not careful. But just keep in mind, we wouldn't be responsible webinar hosts without explaining those.
Sure.
Okay. Now we get to your favorite, errors and omissions insurance, E&O. Explain errors and omissions.
Well, it's basically, it gets back to the example you'd given. If something's wrong with your work, and you're sued over your work, this would protect you further. If somehow they find that you've pierced the corporate veil, which there's a good probability you might, this would protect you as an individual.
Yes. Okay.
So you get sued, they're covering it.
So just Google Google piercing the corporate veil. You'll find a whole bunch of stuff. Chat. Have you used CMS Group? It's one several CRAs I know use. No, but we'll write that one down. CMS Group is a good one, like Hiscox, I guess, for E&O insurance.
Okay.
CMS Group. Thank you. I will look into it because we're always looking. Okay. This is good. A very good webinar.
Yeah.
Right. Consulting. Senior CRAs make excellent consultants. Right? They do. But you can't be a specialist. And you can't be one of those CRAs that has no social skills. Because it doesn't work. That may make a great CRA. Because you're going to find all the errors. But you're not going to get business acting that way. Okay, we know several CRAs that would never get hired as consultants. They have no social skills. Zero.
Oh yeah.
They're great at finding problems, but who's gonna want to hire them independently?
Right.
You know. One more question: what insurance does a site owner need when hiring PIs that are employed through a hospital, other than what you mentioned? In what case should a site owner be sued? The hospital it concerned. So.
Well, the PI in this case most likely doesn't have medical malpractice because it's only the hospital most likely is providing it, and it's only on the hospital grounds.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll need medical malpractice. That's about the only insurance that I can think of.
So you're gonna need to shop for private additional medical malpractice insurance. In what case could a site owner be sued? Site owner could be sued by a patient. Site owner can be sued by the sponsor, although that's rare.
You could be sued by anybody for anything.
Site owner could be sued by the PI.
Yeah.
Site owner can be sued by an employee.
Yeah.
You can be sued by anybody. Okay.
Yeah.
And what insurance the site owner get? Errors and omissions, a good one. And then malpractice for the PIs too.
And general liability.
General liability, which is slip and fall.
Yep.
Premise liability.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, professional liability wouldn't be a bad idea either.
Is that the same as E&O? What's the
difference?
No,
it's different. So professional liability is like, suppose you have an RN on site who's giving an injection, and whoever received that injection wants to now sue the site over it. Something happened. So that's where the professional liability would come in.
And in most of those cases, like that example, the sponsor would indemnify
so long as it's done according to protocol.
Protocol and GCP.
Right. So if it can be proven that it was done outside of that, that's where you'd be protected by the professional liability.
And this is where the lawyers come in and where they earn their money.
Yep.
Okay, so first network with sites and get to know some of the staff. If you're a senior CRA, okay, network with your own sites. It starts where you go monitor, okay? Get to know some of the key staff, the PIs, the directors. If you work as a consultant, you know how many CRAs approach us and ask us like questions about owning a site? It's amazing. Our own CRAs, okay? If you work as a consultant, you can offer your service to people. You will have to be clear about what you offer. If you only offer quality assurance or train research staff, That's gonna give you less opportunities than if you can do a bunch of other stuff. Back to the specialist versus generalist argument.
Mm-hmm.
Learn more, do more, become an expert in more. You're gonna start out as a specialist. I started out specialist. I was a coordinator for psychiatry studies. That's where I started out.
Yeah, but a very generalized specialist.
Sure.
You did everything that a coordinator could do.
Yeah, but when I day one, I was not doing everything. Just
Sure.
that particular, very specific.
Just gathering data.
I learned out of necessity. I had to learn how to do a budget. I had to learn how to give studies.
Of course.
You got to think the same way. You got to do it out of necessity too. If you want to be a consultant, business owner, independent contractor, if you want to expand your career opportunities, you've got to do more. There's some pain that is associated with that.
Sure.
Okay. Keep in mind that the more you offer, the more you have to offer, the closer you are to be able to run a research site or do anything else for that matter. Final slide, opening a site.
Okay.
Very good. I guess Carlos followed the order of our podcast.
Okay, I don't remember this podcast, but okay, great.
Yeah, do you remember the one we did yesterday? I forgot already.
I do.
I just remember the books all over the place.
It was a call we did, and the person gave us the topic.
Okay. I remember that. I don't remember the topic.
Okay.
And this is just uploaded yesterday, so look, it's another day. It's another day. Okay, opening a site. There is no single strategy for a W-2 employee to become independent, but becoming a consultant offers many benefits. Many of the skills from a consultant transfer very seamlessly to those required to running a site. Okay, so this is a good transition. If you want to open a site, which so many people do, you can just jump into it, which works as well. Or if you want to be more conservative, you become an independent contractor, and then a consultant that does more general stuff, and then open your site. You're just taking baby steps into easing your way into the pool. You know when you like go to the beach and you can just like run in and jump?
Right.
Or you can just like ease your way into it.
Right. Now these
both work. You're still gonna end up in the ocean.
Sure. These steps that you're providing, this is more for a CRA, or can a coordinator do these?
Of course. Why
can a coordinator do these steps?
Coordinator can do these steps.
So go from being a coordinator.
Sometimes if I'm a site and I want to hire a contractor, and I get approached by a coordinator who wants to help me,
sure,
and proven that they are a generalist, or a CRA that wants to help me and proven that they're a generalist, I'm gonna know if I'm on a budget. This coordinator, I don't even have to talk to them. This coordinator is going to charge less.
You don't have to talk to the CRA.
I don't need to talk to either of to know that the coordinator is going to probably charge me less.
Okay.
So yes, matter of fact, they have advantages. There's always pros and cons. Okay. Whoever you are, you have advantages and you have disadvantages. That's just the way it is, right?
Fair
Unless
enough.
You're God, then you have only advantages. Right?
Fair enough.
Many of the skills from consulting transfer very seamlessly to those required to running a site. People who have a wealth of knowledge about the research industry are in a good position to one day opening and then running a successful research site. And guess what? Once you own a site, now you have the option. Do we build a big mega site? Do we build a site network of loosely affiliated sites?
We talked about this yesterday.
This is what we talked about yesterday. Now it's coming back to me. Do I open a CRO? Do I evolve my site network into a vendor where we provide eSource? I mean, we know Raymond who did this.
Right.
He pivoted his skills to developing eSource. He still has a site too.
Yep.
Okay. Do we become a CRO? Once you're a CRO, do we become a sponsor? I don't know. I mean, we're doing that.
Right.
We're trying to do it.
Yes, we are.
So it never ends. It never ends until you die or until you want it to end. It's when it will end.
That would seem to make sense.
The learning. Okay. It's all up to you guys. Let me know if you have any other questions. We do have another one. Man. Okay. So you guys asking a lot of questions here. Let's get to these two. Yeah?
Okay.
Do you believe there is a minimum level of experience, number of SIVs, IMVs, etc., before embarking on CRA contracting gigs, or range of years of experience, or is it just individual confidence and comfort? I think it's a combination. I think you need at least a year or two as a CRA. Chris has 3, but he's way more conservative. He's George Bush on this webinar. Okay. I'm more of a Ross Perot, like an independent.
Okay.
Okay. So I say 1 or 2, especially, and let me go back. It depends on the job market. Right now, we're in a very favorable job market. So I think 1 or 2. I think I win in this argument in this year.
I still think 3.
I think in 3 or more was like in 2012. So your strategy and my strategy both work.
Sure.
And it is, and this is where when you get to that gray area of, well, is it 2 or 3, or is 2.5 okay, or is 1.5 okay, is where all this other stuff comes into.
Well,
like confidence. How many SIVs did you actually do? Maybe you worked 1 year at a very busy CRO and you were 30 days a month on site, as opposed to 2 years where you're just 1 day a week on site.
Well, the simple answer to this is find a job posting and apply to it. Right?
Yeah.
You'll find out.
Talk to job recruiters.
Yeah.
Job recruiters reach out all the time. If you want to be introduced to a very good job recruiter, her name is Jeslyn. She presented at our meetup. We've done a YouTube video with her. She's very good. She's going to work extra hard to get you hired. Email me after this, okay? Subject line should be introduce me to Jeslyn. Okay, so that's that one. Gosh, the questions are coming through. So, okay, could you please elaborate on keeping accounts study charges separate so don't pierce corporate veil, such as new credit card with LLC as account holder? Yes, that's one. Examples, who would you recommend to assist with this? An accountant? Yes.
Yeah, yes to both.
Yes to both. There's a very good book on this called Ink and Grow Rich.
Basically, pay business expenses with a business card. Pay personal expenses with a personal card. Don't do the opposite for either.
Right. And if you do, try to justify why, what was the reason.
Doing it. Yeah.
There's a very good book on this that written by a tax attorney. Ink and Grow Rich. INC and Grow Rich. Not Think and Grow Rich, which is also another very good book. And if you're thinking of being an entrepreneur, you need to read that one too. So it doesn't matter what you heard, get both. But Ink and Grow Rich talk specifically about piercing the corporate veil and about using LLCs to protect yourself, to limit liability, reduce the tax burden if you do it appropriately, which is something we're still trying to figure out.
Sure.
Everybody's on their own on that one. When starting a site, which EMR would you recommend? Electronic medical record.
I'd recommend none.
I recommend none, or whatever the PI is already using, whatever the physician is already using.
Yep.
If they're using, I don't even know what they're called anymore.
Well, when you say a site, are you referring to a research site? Why do you need EMR if it's just a research site?
A lot of people come from the hospital settings where it's like there's no other thing other than EMRs.
Sure, but my point is, if you're starting a research site, specifically a research site,
right,
you don't need an EMR.
I know, but I'm telling you where their mentality is.
Yeah, so I'm explaining. You're starting a research site. You don't need an EMR.
You don't need EMR is not a requisite to having a site.
Correct, unless that site's seeing patients outside of research. Then you might want an EMR. You might need an EMR. I mean,
or maybe your doctor's already using an EMR. Yeah. Use that. That's your EMR now.
Yep.
Because sites don't need EMRs. Sites get access to EMRs.
Exactly.
They don't need EMRs. Sites get access to EMRs. Here, say it again. Sites don't need EMRs.
Right.
Sites need access to EMRs.
Yep, so they can find the patients for their studies.
Okay. How much investment? You guys are good. This is a great Tuesday. Oh my gosh, I can't get through these. Hold on. When starting okay, that one. How much investment is generally required to open up a research site?
Very little.
Very little.
It depends on the situation, right? If you're starting your site in a clinic that's already established, so it's a freestanding clinic, a doctor owns it, he's seeing his patients there. Convince this doctor to start a research site there. You need literally $0 usually to start your research site within that clinic. everything you need is usually already there. Maybe you'll need an ECG and maybe you'll need a centrifuge. Now, if you're starting exclusively a research site, it's going to run a little bit more. You're going to need all the necessary equipment, all the office furniture. You're going to need pay the rent and all the utilities. So just to get the equipment, you're going to pay around $10,000 or less, and whatever your bills are monthly.
Yeah.
But the cheapest way is an already established site.
Or already established physician with a private practice.
Clinic,
yeah. See, we got to be careful with the words because the people are already confused with EMRs and
you weren't listening. Initially, I made that clear.
Okay, very, very good. So, very little or a lot, depending on what your situation is.
Yep.
That's why we always recommend the physician with a private practice already.
Yeah, and you already have established patients. You already have a database. So
our new clinic in Anaheim that we're going to open by January is going to have this.
Huge database.
And they're going to have EMRs. We don't even care what EMRs they use.
Nope.
They have EMRs. Yep. I don't care what they are. We have access to them for the purposes of doing research on the subjects that are their patients.
Yep.
Okay. So don't overcomplicate things. People like to overcomplicate. Any ideas about usual benchmark hourly rates for West Coast SF Bay Area for senior CRA? No. You have to go on Indeed, on Glassdoor, talk to recruiters. The only way to know is to, because these things change all the time, is to talk to recruiters. Talk to 10 recruiters. They're out there. If you're a senior CRA, they should be contacting you. They would love to talk to you. You got to find out. You got to establish the market price.
Right.
I know West Coast Bay Area is like one of the highest in the country as far as hourly rates. Okay. As a W-2 contractor, so this person was a W-2 contractor. So you're an employee, but they only assign you to like one study.
Right.
All right. Or they'll put you like on a 6-month contract. A lot of our students, when they graduate our program, get contract roles. Right. They're W-2, but they get like a 3, 6, 9-month contract.
It's like a probationary
12-month contract. Yes. And that's not to be confused with independent contractor, okay, which you will make a lot more.
Right.
Okay. This person's working through a staffing agency from the mid-60s into the 70s, oncology. That is very low, okay? That staffing agency is probably getting arbitrage for themselves.
Yeah, getting quite the pocket.
And you're an oncology senior CRA in the Bay Area, and you're only making in the mid-60s to the 70s. You're getting the short end of that deal.
Yeah. Half your probably salary is going to somebody else.
Yeah, if you are a senior CRA, I would be today contacting Jeslyn. She can get you a very good role. Jeslyn, just reach out to me. Okay, we're gonna get your CV out to her. And by the way, there's a dozen other ones that I don't know that are good probably that you should be sending your CV to. And I would also upload your CV to Indeed, ZipRecruiter, Career Builder, Monster, and LinkedIn today. Okay, you'll see without these staffing agencies, because look, the staffing agency have to make their money.
Yeah.
In this case, they're making a lot. I know people that do this.
Yep.
I know people that do this. I think it's a great business.
Sure.
I don't want to do it because it doesn't feel right, honestly.
Sure.
All right, but that's low. You're on the low side. Another reason why you should be a contractor, independent contractor, not a W-2 contractor, right. A 1099 contractor. Okay, many of the sites I visited had EMRs for research. Yeah, of course. Like the EMR, you're talking about electronic source.
That's something else.
All right, e-source is different than medical records. In this industry, when you talk about medical records, you're talking about either the electronic medical records or the paper medical records. When you're talking about source, you're talking about paper source documents or electronic source documents, which is what we use as well. We use Creo. So if that's what you were asking, for e-source, so you got to get the lingo right.
Yeah, I still recommend not to have that initially.
Chris still recommends no.
Why add the expense?
Chris recommends no e-source. I recommend, and this is where you got to make your own decision. I recommend Creo, clinicalresearch.io, and you got to get the lingo right. Okay, it's very important. Thanks for the Ink and Grow Rich recommendation. Are there any other books in general Oh, and this person asked, why LLC over INC? That's another webinar. We can go into that.
We need Scott on that one.
S Corp is similar to an LLC. C Corp is not. LLC and S Corp are both pass-through entities. S Corps require more reporting, more documentation of
Higher
monthly
taxes,
meeting, typically higher taxes. C Corp is completely different. You can sell shares to investors, but there's double taxation. So that's getting in way over probably most people's heads. But C Corp requires double taxation. Again, that book, Ink and Grow Rich, explains all of this. It's a little old, that book, but the fundamentals are still there.
LLCs are probably the easiest.
LLCs are the easiest, and they're also the simplest to pierce the corporate veil too, though.
Yeah.
Okay, so any other books in general to recommend to future contractors, site owners? Let's see here. I would say like anything on sales, because you've got to get good at sales. Like that's probably one of the biggest things that was not covered in the slides is if you're a W-2 employee, you probably don't need to worry about selling your services. While as an independent contractor, your mindset needs to shift into sales mode. So you're all sales. Like, and chances are you're probably not good at that because if you've been a W-2 for 10 years, you don't need to be good at that.
You're selling yourself at the interview alone.
Right. So
good job.
I think sales is good. And then reading Ink and Grow Rich, and then finding a good CPA who understands those concepts from that book. I think that's it. Maybe Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Cash Flow Quadrant is another good one, but that's more of a philosophically why it makes sense to be a business owner. So Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Cash Flow Quadrant. Okay. Anything else? This is a very good session. Chris, anything else you want to add? You want to give them our spiel for the... Oh, I'm going to give a spiel before you give a spiel.
All right. Give the spiel.
We have a Site Owner Academy. In my opinion, it's our best product. Chris thinks otherwise. That's okay. We're two different people. We can think different things. But I think our Site Owner Academy is our best product. It's only $3,000. In January 2020 and beyond, it's going to be $10,000.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to join, I suggest you join now. We will not lower the price after January for anybody. We actually don't want more people in there at that point. Right now, if you want to get in, you still have September, October, November, December, $3,000. Now we also have site services. We will get studies for you, do the contract and budgets, create source, help you with that. So everything you need to start a site,
remotely.
Except getting patients.
Yeah, everything's done remotely.
And we can even when it comes to getting patients, we'll teach you strategies. You get our phone numbers, you call us, you talk to us. We're getting you studies. That's $1,000 a month. No contract, just a monthly contract.
Yep.
Okay. Then we have our CRA Academy. The next class starts in October. It's $3,000 a month. Then we have our study.
$3,000 total.
Sorry, yeah. $3,000 total for a 3-month program as our CRA Academy. Then we have our CRC Academy. This is great for sites that want to outsource their training. It's online. So is the CRA Academy. That's online. So is the Site Owner Academy, by the way. That's online. The CRC Academy is $2,500 starting in November.
They all have live weekly webinars as well.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
So I don't know when. So the CRA Academy is on Saturdays, the Site Owner Academy on Thursdays. When is the CRC Academy? Have we decided when that's going to be?
No, I think Monica's doing that. So whatever day she picks.
Okay.
All right. And so let us know if you're interested in any of this stuff. Email me, text me 949-415-6256. Let me know if you have questions about this. The replay will go out to everybody. And if you're watching on YouTube, thank you. Reach out to me as well, or on the podcast. Thank you very much. And we will catch you all later. Congratulations for that. Thank you. I hope you have very good luck with your site. Keep me updated on how that goes. And thank you, everybody. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.